I've heard 1,000 times that eating healthy is important. What no one ever told me is that it's also a massive act of rebellion. Because when you stop eating the way everyone else eats, when you cook your own food and choose things that actually help you heal, you're not just being healthy. You're stepping outside a system that's built to keep you sick, tired, and easy to exploit. So if you're someone who's tried an elimination diet or a healthy diet and given up because it was too hard, or if you're thinking of trying it but scared of how difficult it might be, maybe you'll find this video helpful. Today I'm talking about how one particular diet, the Autoimmune Protocol or AIP, helped me heal more than anything else I've ever tried. But even though it worked, I gave it up more than once until I figured out this one thing I'm going to share today. This is the second video in my How I'm Healing My Chronic Illness series, where I share how I went from barely functioning to slowly, finally feeling like myself again after over a decade of chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia. Because today I'm going to share what I actually ate and what I had to stop eating to start healing, why I kept giving a healthy diet up even when it was working, and what finally helped me come back to this way of eating without shame and without giving up joy. And what happened when I finally stuck with it, how I got the energy, clarity, and confidence to stop just surviving and start creating the life I always dreamt was possible. So I followed something called the Autoimmune Protocol, or AIP, which is an elimination diet, meaning you take out everything that might cause your body problems, give it time to heal, then start reintroducing them one by one. You keep the foods you do well with, hold off on the others, and try those ones again later. Some of those foods you accept you may never eat without it causing a problem. With the AIP, you eat food that has a lot of nutrients and helps your body calm down. Grass-fed meat, root vegetables, healing broths, olive oil, berries, simple, real ingredients, nothing fancy. We cooked at home, used the best ingredients we could afford. We shopped at farmers markets when possible. No superfood powders, no wellness trends, just food that would have looked normal 100 years ago. But here's the part that can feel impossible. What I had to stop eating. Here we go. All grains, including wheat, dairy, sugar, caffeine, alcohol, beans, potatoes, eggs, nuts, seeds. It's a long list. Basically, everything I used to eat. So why cut all of that out? Because most of the food in the supermarkets isn't food in any meaningful sense. It's been grown, processed, or engineered in ways that my body doesn't recognize and often couldn't handle. Things like gluten, sugar, and modern dairy, and all the chemicals company used to preserve them threw my system off in ways that could be quiet but constant. My energy tanked, my mood crashed. I had colds all the time. I felt utterly drained and old before my time. And the worst part, I started to believe that that was just how life was. But when I cut all those troubling things out, I felt it. The brain fog lifted enough to hold a thought. I woke up one morning and realized my joints didn't hurt. I got through the day without crashing at 2 p.m. I started being able to do more things. I felt more playful, more creative, less like life was a to-do list I never got close to finishing, and more like it could be fun, even enjoyable. I realized, oh, it's not too late. I can come back from this hole I'm in. And then after a couple of months, my energy really started to return. The bloating disappeared, the extra weight I'd been carrying started melting away, not because I was restricting food, but because my body finally wasn't overloaded all the time. My armpits didn't stink anymore. I didn't even need deodorant. My skin got clearer, my hair got shinier. I started wearing clothes I hadn't worn since my 20s. It was thrilling. I felt like the person I always wanted to be, but had quietly given up on ever being again. But even with all of that, I still gave up on this way of eating more than once. And before I get into why I gave it up, I'd love to know, have you ever tried something like this? AIP, Whole30, Paleo, or any other kind of elimination diet? Let me know in the comments. I want to hear what your experience has been, because even when it helps, sticking with it can be a whole different story. So, if this way of eating was working so phenomenally well, why did I give it up? Because even though it was working miracles, honestly, I couldn't stand up to the pressure of 3 things. Reason number 1, I felt like I didn't belong. I'd go to someone's house and not be able to eat what they made. I'd sit in a cafe and realize there was nothing I could order. I felt awkward, fussy, like I was ruining the vibe. I mean, there's this deep, almost animal level need to belong around food, to be part of the group, to join in, to say yes. Saying no, even gently, even with a reason, made me feel like I was stepping outside the circle, and that hurt. I had friends and family who let me know too, that they thought that what I was doing was ridiculous, expensive, and pointless. For some of my family, this way of eating is considered bougie, elitist. It's not what real folks do. Sitting at my own dinner table, I'd be eating something different from my son and husband when I wanted us to eat as a family all together. So all that knocked me off the AIP diet the first time, this wanting to belong. Here's the reason I went off of it the second time. I didn't want to give up on one of my only sources of joy. This one cuts deep. Food has often been one of the few reliable places I could easily find pleasure. When I needed, it was a comfort, a reward. There was a chocolate bar or piece of cake or pizza waiting for me. Personally, I think women are trained to find our joy in chocolate and wine and junk food. To say, I deserve this about a brownie, but not about time off or equal pay or control over our bodies. We're allowed to want cake, but not credit for holding families together, building communities, and caring more than anyone realizes. And for everyone, regardless of gender, we've all been told to settle, to make the peak of our ambition a bigger house or a newer car, when what we really need is a life we don't have to numb ourselves to endure. We're told to find our joy in a snack. And for a long time, I went along with that. I tried to make chocolate enough because I hadn't yet figured out how to find enough real joy in other areas of my life. Finally, reason number 3. Sometimes I just didn't have the capacity. With AIP, everything has to be made from scratch. There's no quick option, no takeaways. And right now, this is my 3rd time going back on an elimination diet. I knew I couldn't do it alone. I'd been eating sugar, caffeine, cheese, all the things, and my body was feeling it. I was exhausted, in pain, foggy, while also trying to launch a YouTube channel and rebuild my life. I couldn't do both. So Malcolm offered to take on all the cooking and cleaning just so I could focus on this. That's never been the case before in the past. I had the capacity to do it on my own, and I did, But there have been other seasons, like now, where all my energy had to go somewhere else. And when that happens, when you're already giving everything you've got to something that matters, sometimes there's just nothing left for cooking. Even if you know it's helping, even if you want to keep going. The reason I can do this now and keep doing it isn't that I have more willpower or time or discipline. It's that I see it differently now. This isn't a test I'm trying to pass. This is a rebellion I'm choosing to lead. I stopped seeing eating healthy as a restriction and started seeing it as liberation. And that shift helped me face the 3 biggest reasons that had made me give up before, and you might be thinking too. So reason number 1, doing this is too isolating. You're right, it can be lonely. You worry you will be the awkward one at dinners, the fussy one at cafes. But here's what shifted. Now I expect the world not to understand, and I don't make that mean I'm wrong. It's not me who's the weirdo. It's the world that thinks food in a box is normal. I might sit at a table and not eat the same food, but I'm not outside the circle. I am the circle. And surprisingly, the more I show up this way, the more people respect it. Some even start changing with me, like my son, like Malcolm, like friends who've asked, "Hey, what are you doing lately? You're looking great." Reason number 2, but food is my joy. Yes, it used to be. But now, joy comes in different ways. In long walks with energy I didn't used to have. In laughter that doesn't feel forced. In getting dressed and actually liking how I look. In creating this channel. In working toward a mission that lights me up. You might have seen my video on a day of simple joys, which is all of this in action. Chocolate was never the enemy, but it was never going to build the life I actually wanted. Finally, reason number 3, I just don't have the capacity. This way of eating, it's work. Everything has to be made from scratch. There's no quick option, no takeout to fall back on. And there's been times, whole years, when I couldn't manage it. Not because I didn't care, but because I was too depleted, too stressed, too overwhelmed, just trying to stay afloat. But what I've learned is this: healing has seasons. Sometimes you're in a season where your only job is to rest, to do the bare minimum, to not ask more of yourself. And that's not giving up, that's surviving. But then there comes a time when things change, when something dragging you down lifts a bit, and something else comes along to make you try again. For me, this time, that thing that made me try again was this channel. I knew if I wanted to do it properly, I couldn't do everything. So I asked Malcolm to take over the cooking and cleaning, and he did. That's not always been possible, but this time it was, and that made all the difference. So what happens when I eat this way? Everything gets better. I'm clearer, calmer, more creative. I can focus. I can finish things. This way of eating gives me the foundation to do things I never thought I'd be able to do again, like making this video, launching this channel, sharing my story. It's helping me be the version of myself I always dreamed was possible. And it's not just changing me, it's changing how we live as a family. My son used to be bummed when I didn't join in on a pizza night, but now he notices how food makes him feel. He felt awful after that pizza. And over time, with me and Malcolm eating this way, no sugar, no junk, no alcohol, no coffee, he's quietly started to shift too. He cooks more. He's less interested in junk food. He sees how his friends eat, but he knows it doesn't work for him. I didn't plan for this, but one of the most beautiful surprises is watching my son find his own way with food. Not copying me, just noticing how it makes him feel and choosing not to let it control him. Ultimately, what it takes to stick with a healing diet, at least for me, isn't willpower. It's refusing to stay sick just because the world makes it easier. It's walking away from a system that profits from my pain. It's saying I won't play dead anymore. This is my body, this is my life, and I get to take it back and build the one I want. So if you're somewhere on this path too, starting out, starting over, or just trying to believe it's possible, I hope this helps you. And let me know in the comments, have you ever tried eating this way? What helped? What made it hard? And if you've also thought, I know this isn't just physical, there's emotional stuff here too, but I can't afford therapy or I don't even know where to start, then don't miss my next video. I'll be sharing the one approach that helped me start healing the deepest trauma in my system, completely for free. See you soon. If you're trying to heal, trying to believe in a life that feels better than this, you're not alone. This whole channel is for people like you. Sensitive, visionary, exhausted, and not giving up. I'm building a community for us, and I'd love for you to be part of it. So hit subscribe, leave a comment, and come back next time, because we're just getting started.